After 2 wild days at the Perth Test, we're going to rate every England and Australia player out of 10 based on their impact on the match. And we're going to start with Zak Crawley. Unfortunately for the England opener, it's a third 0 for the week. He had literally no impact on the contest. He was out for a pair, dismissed both times in the first over of the innings by Mitchell Starc. First time he was caught at first slip trying to drive a good length ball on the up, which is a cardinal sin in Perth, particularly so early in the innings. The second time around, he mistimed a ball and Starc dove to take a stunning return catch. Frustratingly for the visitors, he was retained in the side because of his height and his upright technique, which is meant to suit the conditions in Perth, but he really battled. Joe Root gets a 1. It was a nightmare start for the former England captain, who entered the series under immense pressure to finally break through for a first Test 100 here. That bid got off to a miserable start when he was squared up by Starc and caught at third slip for a 7-ball duck. For all the talk about the veteran having refined his own take on the Bazball approach, he didn't really show it in the second innings. He needed a little bit more restraint when he tried to drive a ball away from his body and was out for 8. It's a 4 for the other England opener, Ben Duckett. He falls into the category of looked good for a bit, didn't go on with it. In both innings, he looked pretty patient and organised, but was dismissed in the 20s. He made 21 from 20 rocks the first time around before he was trapped in front by Starc, and he finished with 28 in the first innings. It looked as if his partnership with Ollie Pope would take England to a significant lead, but they couldn't cash in. Jamie Smith gets a 5. He's shaped as a wild card for England in this series. He's a relative unknown here, but he gets after the bowling and he keeps wicket really well. He certainly got after it. He pushed through the pain in the first innings to knock out 33 from 22, including 6 boundaries, but he fell to Starc trying to put a ball in the Swan River. He made 15 off 25 in the second in a brief effort to again stem the bleeding. Fast bowler Gus Atkinson gets a 5. He was wicketless, but he did show a little bit with the new ball, particularly in the first innings. He went at just 2 and over as he and Jofra Archer tied up Australia's frantic top order. He was part of England's inflexible bowling plans to Travis Head, though, during that final session, and the Aussie batter feasted on his short stuff. The plan probably needed to be a little bit more aggressive. He took none for 61 from 9 overs. There was a handy contribution with the bat, though, of 37 in a 50-run stand with Brydon Carse. Another man who went wicketless is Mark Wood, so he gets a 6. But there were some scalps that actually had his name written all over them. He struck Cam Green a brutal blow to the helmet moments before he was dismissed, and the sustained heat from him and Jofra Archer in the first innings took its toll on other batters, including Steve Smith. His speeds were electric in the first innings, and one over featured 4 balls above 151 clicks, but they dropped in the second as Head started to take hold. Harry Brook is also a 6. He made a first innings half-century that was a relative lone hand in the carnage of the opening day. He did become Brendan Doggett's first wicket on 52, and he was in 2 minds over whether to play or leave that ball going down the leg side. He fell for a 3rd-ball duck in the middle of the Starc and Scott Boland show in the second, flashing at a ball outside off. It was a shot that didn't have many redeeming features. The captain gets a 6 as well, Ben Stokes. This was a fascinating match for him. His Lyon-hearted 5-wicket haul in the first innings was the very best of him, but he was out cheaply twice, including in the second innings when his side desperately needed him to settle a batting effort starting to fall apart. He made 8 runs combined for the match. Another man with a 6, it's Ollie Pope for his scores of 46 and 33. He looked like a settled batsman who had done this all before. That's not what it looked like leading into the series, with his spot in the side under serious threat before a century in a practice match at Lilac Hill. He feasted on a diet of Boland slot balls in the first innings, and he was still patient and waited for the bowling to come to him. He was eventually trapped LBW by Cam Green when he first came onto bowl, and his wicket was the first of several in quick time on day 2. For his Test return, Jofra Archer gets a 7. The injury-prone Quick put his stamp on Ashes cricket for the first time since his legendary drill with Steve Smith way back in 2019. It was some mark he left as well. Archer was lethal in the first innings. He took 2 for 11 off 9, including the first over wicket of Jake Weatherald, but his speeds were too much for Australia to handle. They would have hoped for the same in the second, but his pace was down and his impact plummeted with it. And the top of our list for England, it's Brydon Carse with another 7. He is fast threatening to land in the Ian Botham and Andrew Flintoff class of Englishmen that play like Aussies. The South African-born Quick has a ripping short ball, can rough up a batsman, and has a go both on the lip and with the bat. It was an impressive Ashes debut from the hulking and pretty sharp paceman who took 3 for 45 in the first dig and their only 2 wickets in the second, while also scoring a runner ball 20 in between. For the Aussies, Usman Khawaja is first up with a 1. The veteran was meant to be the sure thing at the top of the order, but his test match turned into an unmitigated disaster. He spent time off the field battling back spasms on day 1 and was ineligible to open the batting. He then came in at number 4 and made 2 off 6 before he was well beaten by a good bouncer. He continued to struggle with his bad back on the second day after dropping a catch off Ben Stokes, and he didn't bat. That paved the way for Travis Head's blazing century. Nathan Lyon gets a 1 as well. He had very little impact on a wicket and a match dominated by the big quicks. He bowled just 2 overs for 10 runs in the first innings and then made 4 with the bat after being elevated to number 9. He copped a knock while batting and has a whopping bruise to show for it, which impacted his ability in the field in the second bowling innings. Debutant Jake Weatherald gets a 3. His debut was thrown into chaos when his slated opening partner Khawaja was unable to bat. There were so many moving parts around him that it can't have been easy to walk out and face Archer in his maiden innings. He was struck on the pads by his second delivery and was out for a first innings duck. His second showing was much improved though, batting with the on-fire head. He showed good intent on his way to 23 from 34. Next up, it's the hometown hero Cam Green. He gets a 5. He made 24 from 50 as Australia briefly settled things down with the bat at the end of the first day, but he got out trying to drive well away from his body and was caught behind. It was a pretty ugly dismissal, and he didn't get the chance to atone for it in the second dig. He did take the important wicket of Ollie Pope, trapped LBW trying to play around his legs early on the first day. It's a 5 as well for Alex Carey. Wicket-keepers are at their best when you don't notice them, and that was the case for Carey in Australia's 2 brief bowling innings. With the bat, he got himself to a runner ball 26 before also being dismissed in disappointing fashion, redirecting a short ball from Stokes down the throat of the third-man fielder. The stand-in skipper, Steve Smith, he lands a 5 too. He was squared up and nicked off for 17 from 48 in the first innings after riding out a brutal spell of England bowling at the end of the first day. He was another who was impacted by the top order reshuffle. He batted at 3. He did captain well, though, in their limited bowling efforts, and he was part of the team that made the call for Head to open, which will go down in folklore. He also was at his best in the slips again, which is important for Australia. It's a 6 for Marnus Labuschagne. The recalled batter can be forgiven for a disappointing 9 off 41 balls in the first innings after being tossed into the fire by the Khawaja saga. He was beaten for pace by Archer and chopped on trying to leave a ball. He was brilliant in the second innings. He joined Head at a dicey time late in the day, scoring 51 from 49 balls, only the third half century by any player in the match. The other man coming in first up, Brydon Doggett. He gets a 7, and Australia got exactly what they wanted from their seam bowling first gamer. He made things happen, even with a ball described as a hockey puck at one point. They all struggled to make it swing in the first innings, but he did take 2 wickets. He had Brook running a ball down the leg side to Carey and Brydon Carse caught in the deep. His bowling partner, Scotty Boland, gets a 7 as well. Boland ripped through England's middle order in the second innings with one of the great displays of discipline. He barely left his 4th stump line or stopped bashing away at back of a length. He took 4 for 33 from 11.4 overs, but it was a stark contrast from the first innings where he strayed 2 full over and over again and took none for 62. So it was a big improvement. Part of that could be down to him opening the bowling, which hasn't happened often at international level, and he felt like he needed to give it time to swing. But that's an adjustment Australia might look at making with the pink ball in Brisbane. Now the 2 big guns. Travis Head gets a 9. It's one of the great Ashes innings of all time. Head's match-winning ton came off just 69 balls and he finished on 123 to pull Australia through what looked to be a tricky chase in less than 2 hours. He took what the average bowling gave him, but also left the ball well early before some ludicrous stroke play took him from 50 to 100 in no time. This is all while opening the batting for the first time in Australia as part of a move he's revealed he'd been plotting for years. His shot in the first innings, paddling a ball to mid-wicket on 21, was a little disappointing when there was a chance to get on with his work, so he gets a 9. And it's the same score for Mitchell Starc. The lethal left armour took his best ever figures of 7 for 58 in the first innings and ended the match with 10 poles in one of the great bowling performances ever seen in Perth. That's all while battling to actually get the ball to swing off the straight the first time around and while bowling without the sustained pressure of Pat Cummins and Josh Hazlewood. There was some bad batting in the mix, but his ball to Ben Stokes in the first innings was particularly special, and he used the angled seam ball he's refined late in his career to perfection. The catch to dismiss Crawley in the first innings was unbelievable. The numbers do make a case for a 10 here for Starc, but there were some pretty woeful shots in the mix as well. So let us know what you think. What was the best performance of the Perth Test? Was it Mitch Starc's 10 for or Travis Head's blazing match-winning ton?